How are you?
I'm good. I'm actually in Philly at the moment. I'm going to the Wharton ETA conference
Yeah, I saw
tomorrow.
somebody post about that yesterday or the day before. Were you planning on
Yeah,
going?
yeah. I planned it in advance, so flew here from home and yeah, had a 6 a.m. flight. Had like a welcome event
Oh,
tonight, and
geez.
then
Where's home for you?
got the whole day tomorrow, and then Toledo, Ohio right
Okay.
now.
Man, all right. It's not next door, that's for sure. But I guess it could be worse. Could be worse flights.
Yeah, it's quick, like hour.
What do you
Yeah, hour and a half flight. Not
what are
bad
you
at all.
going for?
At this point, I've been to a couple of conferences. There's always something you could learn from the panels and people's perspectives and their experiences. So I enjoy that aspect. But I think sort of like going to MBA school, it's all about the network. It's about who you
Yeah.
meet. So I typically try to arrange a couple of meetings in person up front while we're here, and then anyone else I meet, try to schedule some follow-up calls afterwards. So I think that's the most value I've gotten out of it. Just and then cultivating those relationships post conference and on through my journey of finding a company.
How's it going, by the way?
It's good. I need to get better at the whole like media content creation stuff. So hopefully my website is live and my newsletter is live here by the end of the week.
Okay. All right.
I'm a bit behind schedule, but that's all right.
When did you and I talk? I know we've spoken recently,
It's a
a
couple
couple
of
weeks
weeks
ago.
ago, not too long.
It's been crazy. I've had
Yeah.
probably over 100 calls in the last few weeks. So just a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your summary of those? I know that's maybe part of why you're doing this kind of spaces format. People just looking for advice, or they're looking to do business with you? What's the takeaway?
Yeah. Three main takeaways. There's some people who are just interested in networking, and so they're just always curious to reach out to somebody and just see where there might be synergies. And then there's people who are legitimately like you, like just a searcher. They're just trying to find a business and looking for advice. And then there's people who are looking for investments. Like those are the three so far, the three people that I've been able to speak with. But my DMs have been out of control, just with tons and tons of questions about businesses, where they should look, how they should look, whether or not this business they're looking at is a good business. And so I was like, I'll just try Spaces. Let's see if that can answer people's questions. And yeah, here we are. I posted about it.
Okay, so I guess I should ask you a
I
question
guess
then.
so. Yeah, if we're here. All right, remind me again. Where geographically, where are you looking? What kind of businesses are you looking for? What's like the general profile of the businesses you're looking for?
A good geographic portion of the US, let's say 20 states, give or take. Professional services, distribution wholesale, manufacturing, and healthcare. But honestly, I'm deprioritizing healthcare. It's just way too much regulatory and licensing, and just I think without being an MD just adds an extra layer
Yeah,
when you're already taking risk with debt. So I think yeah, so let's just say professional services, manufacturing, distribution wholesale, and maybe like installation type stuff. Nothing purely like services or purely blue collar. I don't think that's best with my background. I think it's an ideal mix of white collar and blue collar where I think I can manage well. So,
what size? What are you looking
uh,
for?
the same answer every freaking searcher gives, right? Like that 750K, 1 million on the low end to probably up to 3 million, 4 million on the highest end. I've been cultivating some potentially larger investors. Again, there's family office folks who they don't always just do equity, they'll do the debt as well. So they'll take the majority of the
Yeah,
debt, non SBA, and then even do some equity.
remind me
Yeah.
your background again.
Previously a financial advisor, a finance degree out of college, 12 years of consulting, both technical as well as governance and strategy. About half of that, 5, 6 years, I worked for myself.
Okay.
So ran my own independent consulting. Kind of first taste of entrepreneurship there. And then the last 3 plus years were startups and tech in the utility space, but I've worked so many industries, so that was more customer success, that post-sales relationship. So that was a good experience. And yeah, so now I helped my parents sell their small business last year and retire, and looking to
That's
kind of
right.
take my
Yeah,
own
yeah, yeah.
shot at
Okay.
it.
That's right. Okay. Sorry, I'm like
Yeah,
having to
yeah.
refresh my memory here, so apologies for that.
No, no, it's
How are you planning on financing it?
again typical answer, but I'm also trying to be creative. Ideally, 80% SBA, 70 to 80% SBA, right? 10% give or take seller note, and then 10 to 20% equity. So I've got some of my own funds, plan to go to investors likely, like friends and family, as well as again the folks I've cultivated through these ETA conferences and just other kind of networking. There's always the potential to do a ROBS, which that would be my last
Oh,
resort. I
Robs?
don't want to do that. I know again everyone yeah, rollover for business startup where you can use your 401k or your
Oh,
traditional
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
IRA to fund your down payment. Yeah, ROBS. So again, everyone has their take. Some people are like, if that's what it takes to get the deal done, if it's a good deal, it's worth it. Others are like, don't risk the one thing you can protect from the SBA. So everyone has their perspective, but it's a backup, not
You're not doing a traditional search deal. Like a traditional search fund is going to be, hey, I'm going to raise some equity. I'm going to look. You're going to get, maybe earn up to 30% if you close on the deal, if you hit certain metrics, and then when you sell, you're totally self-funded, but you're open to the idea of raising money in order to bridge the gap. Is that fair?
exactly. Yep. Yeah, I should have clarified that up front.
Oh, it's
Self-funded,
okay.
looking full time.
But
Yeah.
you're still looking for the same type of profile, that like $1 to $2 million in EBITDA type of business.
I would say so. There's definitely overlap between traditional search fund and even independent sponsors. So again, thing is, I can go smaller, technically in the traditional search fund, you're supposed to look all across the country. So I suppose that also
Yeah.
overlaps. But a lot of self-funded searchers are more geographically restricted. I'm not. Got some good opportunities in the pipeline. I've got one or two kind of off-market opportunities as well, which are the holy grail if you can find them.
How long have you been searching?
Just over two
Just over
months
two
now.
months.
So
Okay.
early on,
And
yeah.
for you, what's been the biggest struggle?
Yeah, at first I feel like we all talk about business acquisition, but really it's knowledge acquisition at first. It just is truly a fire hose. Like there's so many more resources, is my understanding now, than there ever were. So it's like a great time to be a searcher, but it's also very much between private equity, kind of MBA proliferation, as well as just other self-funded searchers. There's a lot of
Hmm.
competition, right? And you hear about that silver tsunami of, oh, there's so many businesses, there's going to be more buyers than there are sellers, but the difference is when you look at the dynamics and like fundamentals, good businesses at a good price, at kind of reasonable sellers, everything that needs to work out is very difficult. So there's actually not that many. It's like dating. So certain girls or certain guys, right? There's a lot of competition. So it's
Yeah.
just a lot of things have to align. So that's my struggle is kind of what you said at the beginning, Nick. Most of the questions are how do I analyze this business? Like how do I know it's good? That's the part of it's easy to trick yourself that this is a good opportunity. Or you just don't know. You might think it is and believe it, but if you don't have that perspective or the reps, as they say, of oh, here, have you thought about
Hi,
this?
hi, Katerina.
Hi. So I'm recovering from this surgery.
Glad to hear it.
I don't know if
I
you
do.
remember
Yeah,
my
yeah, yeah. I
post.
do.
I was listening to you on Twitter, so I didn't. And then when you were explaining about Riverside, then I'm like, oh, I got to go find your post. So then I had to go find the post.
Yeah. I'm gonna put you on
Yeah,
mute for a bit and then talk to.
fine. Yeah,
How,
that's
how do I say
fine.
your name? Yas.
Ignore the spelling. It's almost like it's ESH, so Eshwant.
Eshwanth. Perfect. Okay. So that's really interesting you say that because in my experience, I've never had a problem with deal flow. And there's a host of reasons why, but I want to ask some more questions. Where are you looking right now?
Yeah, and just to be clear, I do not have a problem with deal flow
Oh, is it
either.
the
I have
competition?
plenty of deal flow. It's hard to it's a competition, but also again, I think I know it takes practice. And maybe I've gotten better, but going through those sims quickly and identifying like why it's a pass, right? If I'm spending 30 minutes reading each sim, I'm only doing so many sims a day and so many follow-ups a day. And I have a team of interns helping me with that. They've been fantastic.
That's
So
awesome.
there's some synergies I'm trying to relay here. But where am I looking? Again, about 20, 25 different states, so major regions of the US.
I think brokered deals, and you said Sims, so I'm assuming the majority of the deals you're getting your way are coming through brokers in some capacity because there's been something put together in that confidential information memorandum. They're really good to get your reps in. I prefer to buy off market. That doesn't mean you should buy off market, but I prefer to buy off market because with the price range that you're looking at, you're competing against traditional searchers who have very deep pockets, right? They're backed by a private equity fund that actually funded them in order to find a business. And so they're going to be willing to pay more thinking, oh, I'll make it up in the multiple arbitrage when I tack on or when I grow or when I get to this exit. So it prices you out of a lot of deals. At least that's the experience that I had going through brokers. And then second, it's just really hard to build that one-on-one relationship with the seller. Now, I still think you should do it because you get your reps in and you just see what these deals look like. What I would recommend you doing, and especially you have a team of interns, have you ever used Outscraper?
I've heard of it, I have
Okay.
not.
If you message me after, I'll send you a link. I think Chris has some looms on it. That's the software that we've used to generate a lot of our off-market leads and a lot of our off-market deals. So I would narrow down the parameters that you're looking at and just test it. You could just test it in one market. Okay, I'm going to go look in Cincinnati or these counties, and I want to find these specific types of businesses. And you can find all of those owners' information there, and then you cold contact them, and it's a numbers game, and you see who responds. Now, it's a longer close process, but it's a better process for actually building the relationship with the seller. And as long as you're okay with kissing a lot of frogs, there's a big opportunity for finding these deals off market. Most times, these sellers are going to be ones that are thinking about it, but haven't yet listed. And so you're catching them at the right time before they've talked to a broker or a bunch of other people who are telling them, oh, your business is worth X. And that X is usually predicated on 2021 peak ZIRP asset valuations, right? So you have a lot of these sellers who are just unreasonable with their asset value expectations. But you can start the relationship and the conversation with them. The second place I would go is CPAs and lawyers in these markets that you like. They're going to know the ones who are close to retirement age. They're doing retirement planning. They're doing estate planning. They're having conversations with their clients around tax planning, because they then can say to you, oh, you know what? I think I know X, Y, and Z person. Again, this is a longer process and a longer sales cycle, but you're 2 months in. So that's why I'm recommending it to you now, as opposed to, oh, I'm 22 months into my 24-month search. That's just a different approach to it. But I think your interns reaching out to these people will start generating a lot of these types of off-market leads. And then as you refine what you're looking for, which you've already started doing, you'll know what questions to ask. You're still going to ask for the same things: 3 years of tax returns, P&L, growth of the business. You're going to want to look for bank statements. You're going to look and ask for the same things. And now that you've gone through the process a number of times with brokers, you know what to ask for. But then you can start evaluating them. The thing is, they're going to have hair on them. These deals just all have hair on them. It's just how it is. It's an off-market deal, and they're sub $10 million. So they don't have the resources to necessarily be as clean in their books. But that's why the relationship with the seller is really important, because then you can get to a level of comfort and say, okay, I'm willing to take this risk on. Or, okay, I don't believe the seller. They just have a sleazy vibe to me. I'm going to go ahead and move on. So just to recap, I would start having your team of interns at the same time, concurrently, do this off-market strategy where you're contacting sellers. Be very specific and narrow in your first approach, because you're going to learn how to scale it. Then scale it and start fielding these conversations. I think you'll find a lot of value in talking to these companies off markets. So anyways, that's just a little piece of advice. The second piece of advice doesn't have to do with finding the business. It's about the hair on the business. All of them are going to have hair because they're below this price point where they can afford some level of sophistication in order to get them ready for a sale. You just have to figure out what level of hair you're okay with. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but if it's oh, these are weird cash transactions, I'm not okay with it, great. Or if you're I'm okay with them not using a CRM and tracking all of this stuff, and it's a weird company culture, but I think I can fix that. I think you just need to get okay with your level of hard. So anyways, that's, I just spit off a stupid amount of advice. What do you think of that?
Definitely not stupid, solid, valuable advice, especially I think around starting to utilize my interns, which was always the plan. So I think now is a good time as any to have them start, and I'll utilize Outscraper. I think I had a few others. So I'll get that going. And yeah, the hair part, I agree. I think part of it's just I met with an HVAC company, and I realized after that I'm just not the right person to be running an HVAC company. Yeah. I met with a glass manufacturing company, and not all glass manufacturing, but that specific one, I was like, okay, I'm not the right person to be running this company.
Why do you like the manufacturing? I remember us having this conversation now. Why do you like the manufacturing and not something like, I don't know, IT services or data management or professional services like a CPA firm or evaluation company? Why not the professional services? Why are you enamored's not the right word. Why did you pick manufacturing?
Yeah, so professional services is on there as well, and that's probably ranked higher. So it's professional services, then manufacturing. And again, there's no exact order, but no, I completely agree with you. I'm talking to a couple of different professional services companies, but I like manufacturing one because I've done it as a consultant. I worked for automotive manufacturing, aerospace and defense. I've done on the distribution side, I've got some distribution experience. So I think just alignment there. Now, I'm a manufacturing expert, no, but I have experience with the factory settings, supply chain issues, you name it, blah,
Okay,
blah,
all
blah,
right.
right? I'll still need to learn that specific industry. But also, I think there's just something material about it. Like you do, again, you have to be careful which industry and where the industry is headed in terms of tailwinds, or headwinds. But depending on the type of manufacturing, I think you're seeing a lot of nearshoring or even bringing manufacturing back to the US. So depending on what it is, I think there's some great growth opportunities. And it's a real material business. I think many of them are recession proof. Some of them are cyclical, but again, if you have multiple industries as customers, you can ride out those cyclical or cyclicality.
What's something you should look at now that you're talking? So first of all, the fact that you have experience in that space makes a lot of sense to me. If you were just like a traditional searcher who had consulting experience and something else, and you're like, I just like manufacturing because I want to bring jobs back to America, I would have said something different. But to me, you're coming in with a base level of knowledge that could separate you from the competition. But the second thing is, I had a post yesterday, and I'm not expecting you to have read it, but it was about the SBA. And one of the cool rule changes, and you probably already know this since you're smiling, is that you can have your cap, your $5 million cap resets based on NAICS codes. And if I'm saying something to you that you're already doing, like more power to you, that would be a really cool roll up with your experience, is to target different either manufacturing, wholesale, whatever services companies in different NAICS codes, but then centralize what you can centralize in a shared services company so that you're able to leverage what these other search funds are trying to do, which is scale, but you're not necessarily doing it in the same industry. You could either do it through vertical integration. Obviously, you could have some horizontal integration as well. But if 3 or 4 of these sectors, you roll those up and then have a shared services to do the payroll, the IT, the accounts payable, the accounting, the legal, you can realize the economies of scale there, drive your net margin up, but then also utilizing the SBA, essentially leverage each one of those industries. I don't know if you thought about that, but that would be something really cool given your experience.
I'm aware of it. I haven't thought about it yet in the sense of I want to make sure I don't take on too much that I can't handle, right?
Yeah.
It was interesting. I was listening to what was the podcast? What is his name? One second. It is, and again, I'm not saying that'll happen to me, but Hunter Durham. I think he's the one. I think rolled up 3 or 4 companies pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, ended up in that bankruptcy situation. Again, cautionary tale. He's very transparent, very great on him to share that publicly. So I'm not saying I expect that to happen, but I also want to be careful of this is my first time doing it. I want to be thoughtful and risk
I'm
conscious of whatever I do.
agreed.
But I think it's a great idea long term, absolutely. And one last point to that, Nick, and certainly I want to let Katarina or anyone else who's wanting to join have a crack at you. So it's interesting. I'm looking at what is very different from anything I was looking for. This is an off-market inbound opportunity for me. I'll just say, because it's not listed, that it's in like the food franchise space, right? It's a franchise system. So I would be a franchisee. I would be the franchisor. Right. And the nice thing is I'd acquire the corporate stores, potentially the franchising entity. And then the nice thing is they have some vertical integration already. They have a manufacturing facility to make some of the raw ingredients needed. They already have third-party distribution set up to get it out to their franchisees, even as they grow nationally. So a lot to like there. Only thing is it's too big for the SBA. So I was looking at different ways to finance that and make it, because it is higher multiple than probably what the SBA would be okay with, but that's also because it has that growth potential. It's a franchise, and they've already got quite a bit of stores and opening. So where I'm going with this is there's that different components of it. I almost wonder, even though it's too big for the SBA as a whole, you have a manufacturing facility, one NICS code, and then you have the franchising entity, and then you have the corporate stores. Now, those might be the same NICS codes. I don't know. I'd have to check. But at a minimum, maybe I could carve out the manufacturing facility, and I wonder if that could be 2 separate transactions. Of course, that doubles your costs and like everything. Not ideal, but I wonder if that's a way to tackle the fact that it's such a large size. Because the 10-year amortization really helps at higher multiples.
That, and if you're including the real estate in the purchase, your amortization can change.
No real estate.
Oh, okay. So the factory's not a real estate piece. It would just be that they're leasing that space and utilize it. Okay.
Yeah, it'd be the facility itself.
Can you give, if you're comfortable, like how much bigger is it than an SBA loan? Like twice as big?
Yeah.
1.5 times, 4 times?
I guess it depends on if you're saying if you're using 5 as the denominator or if you're using 8 to 9 million pari passu, if I'm pronouncing it
Let's
right.
say
But
5 million.
I would say,
I guess
yeah,
deal
probably
size.
3 to 4 times that. So probably, yeah, deals enterprise value is probably 15. They might want more than that, but I'd say at a minimum, probably around 15-ish.
Why not, for that opportunity, why not go out and raise money?
I will have to no matter what. Even if I was doing SBA, let's just say it was 9 million at the max or whatever. Either way, I have to raise money, so I definitely plan to do
Because
that.
this one is a more typical searcher type deal. That size, the 15 to $20 million enterprise value.
Yep, larger
Yeah,
EBITDA.
larger EBITDA. The thing I love about franchises, though, is that their multiple is incredible. And you have obviously the two sides of the business, the corporate stores, as well as the shared services company. But some of those franchising businesses are going for 10 to 15x. Now, that could also be peak ZERP.
Once they're
Right,
mature, yeah.
right.
This is early
Right.
stage.
But the ability to scale that, especially if they've already, it sounds like they've already got their processes, like they have a franchise disclosure document, like that costs $500,000 in and of itself.
Yep, all the foundation is
Yeah.
there.
Why are they selling? Retirement, other ventures.
They're not quite old enough to retire. Partly, I think it's just more to focus on family, health stuff, and just take a step back. They want to continue to stay on as minority owners and help me in the transition, help long term, as I'd like as the majority owner and CEO. But yeah, they just really want to take some chips off the table and like focus on families. They've got kids going off to college. They want to go travel, enjoy life. I get
Okay.
it.
And you're a smart guy, so what I'm saying is, you've already thought of, I'm sorry. There's a couple cool things, though, that you could do. One could be to have them maintain some equity. So the SBA rules now have changed where people can maintain equity. So let's say that let's say the enterprise value is $20 million, because that's an easy number. And they maintain just under 20% equity. So they maintain $4 million. So you need to come up obviously with another 16. The SBA lends up to 5. So now you've got $9 million that you need to come up with. Do you think they'd be willing to carry anything?
Yes, no, for sure. So their goal is, like I said, this is off market. They're not looking to get bought up by PE. They're not looking for a maximum return. Let's call me like third generation if I took over. So they're being very conscious. This is really like succession planning for the right buyer. So yeah, they plan to do some equity rollover, some seller carry, right? Yeah, they want to make sure this is financeable, and they know that, yeah, SBA might not be an option
So
here.
you tell me, what's the gap right now? What's the gap between what you could get it done for and where you currently are?
I'm still in the early stages of discussing the overall valuation, really
Okay.
what their bottom line is. Because even retaining minority ownership, like what's like I said, they're not retiring, and they're not like super young either. So it's at that point where it's like cash on the table, cash at close matters to them.
Yeah.
Because that's their kind of walk away money for now. Let's just say it's 15 million, right?
Yeah,
Again,
I get it.
could be
Yep.
higher than that, but let's just say it's 15 million. I'm actually thinking of, and again, I have to do the models and go outside here. Either go to like family offices. I'm looking at more SBIC or like private lenders rather than bank lending. A little bit more expensive, or potentially even do mezz debt with interest only for 5 years. But again, all way more risk, all way more than I'd like to leverage a business like that, because then it caps me from growing it, right? There's investments on automation for the manufacturing side. There's investments in growing out the scalability of the franchise system. So I don't have the answer for you right now in terms of early in the negotiations. I haven't finalized where they're comfortable at on the equity side. It could be somewhere between 10, 15 to no more than obviously 19% if it's SBA involved. And then seller note, let's just say it's another 20%. So I think there's a good amount of wiggle room on that aspect. And that way they also still have a lot of that upside potential from the hard work they've done to lay the foundation. But yeah, it'll definitely be millions of dollars. So let's just say pari passu, I can get 9 million, right?
Yeah.
And they carry another 5.
I think if you're,
Yeah, it's going to be a couple million at a minimum.
I think if this is a math equation, the piece you need to solve for is how much do they want to walk away with at close? Because if they could be okay with walking away with $6 million, then you could structure the deal in a way that you could close through the SBA, right? Yeah, you probably have to go out and raise $1 million, but
Yeah.
you could close that through the SBA. You could put they could have a seller note that's on full standby until the SBA loan is paid off, and then there's a balloon payment in 10 years and it's interest only with that significant seller portion being carried there. But it sounds like you don't quite know that yet, which is fine. But I would probably try to key in on, okay, how much do they want to walk away with? And then work your way back into kind of crafting an option. Anyways, dude, that's fascinating. That's good.
Yeah, and again, I was not looking at. Thank you, and I appreciate it, and I'll probably hand it over to Katrina in a second. But or Katerina, I wasn't looking at food and beverage, but it just fell on my lap, and it sounds like you like the franchise model. I think there's a lot of opportunities there.
Yeah, I don't necessarily want to become a franchisee, but I like the franchisor model. I think there's a lot of value there, especially if they've already done all the work to architect what the operation plan is. That's like the hardest part. Okay, so hold on.
Exactly. Well, I love this.
Eshwa? Sorry, I'm butchering your name. Thank you for being my first guinea pig. This was fun.
Nick from Hungary.
That's right.
I learned you're Hungarian. Well, you told me, but I have to write again.
That's right. That's good.
Chris.
That's good. All right, I'll unmute Katerina and
Awesome.
we'll see if we can get her in here.
Hey, hi. How are you?
Good. How are you?
How you doing? Good. Just recovering.
Just recovering.
My cat decided to come and keep me company
Oh, that's
for
okay.
a little bit, so I've been like playing with him. But yeah, so how are you guys doing? You and your family?
We're doing great. Yeah, we're doing great. Remind me, are you
Awesome.
in Utah?
Yes, I'm in Utah. I'm in Provo.
And then remind me the business that you're in. Is it something medical?
I have 3 businesses.
Oh, okay.
I have several businesses, but yeah, my main business is I own a virtual assistant company.
That's right. Okay.
So I'm also have a real estate team, and then I'm just the financier. I'm just starting a new company, a handyman / flooring install company for one of my sons.
Okay, very cool.
So,
How did you get into the
Yeah,
VA,
so
virtual
he's-
assistant business?
pardon me?
How did you get into the virtual assistant business?
Oh, it was an accident. So I've always been a blogger, SEO professional, and all that kind of stuff. I was like one of the first females to ever do that kind of stuff back in 2006, 7, 8. And then I lived in Florida for 27 years, and my late husband and I had a real estate brokerage there. And I started doing SEO, and we started getting listings from the internet because it was the short. So when everything fell apart in Florida overnight, like within 24 hours, a house that was worth 600 was now worth 300. And so this was 2008, and I started blogging about short sales, and we just started getting bombarded by phone calls because nobody would do short sales. So no realtors would do them. Everybody was afraid they were going to get sued. The banks had nothing in place. Countrywide was still in business, so we were dealing with their president and the president's secretary. And then the attorneys didn't know. This is all before they all knew this stuff. And so we really capitalized on that by blogging about it. And we started getting so many listings. Sometimes I'd get 40 or 50 listings in just 1 month.
Wow.
Just from the internet. I never even went to meet the sellers. I would have to do it all on the phone and through fax back then. So we were like doing it all through, and most of them were like baby boomers. We were getting to know each other on the phones, and it was all over the state of Florida. And I couldn't handle it. We couldn't even get those listings into the MLS. It was so many. It was just, I would hire all my kids. Some of my kids would just stand by the fax machine. And this is before the banks had online short sales. So they would have to stand at the fax machine and fax in 200, 300 pages
Jeez
of
Louise.
documents. And so it was crazy. It was a crazy mess. And and then the fax wouldn't go through. So you'd go through, they'd stand there for 2 hours, 3 hours. And then it says, then the bank would say, we never got your fax. I'm like, really? So they would have to do it all over again. So anyway, this whole process was going on. And this was back in the day when that investors were allowed to do short sales. So a lot of our clients were investors who were smart enough to offload everything through short sales. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to a friend of mine who owned a software company out in San Francisco. And he said, why don't you hire? And I said, where's your VA from? Because I had tried an American VA in Miami. They were terrible. Then I tried one in Michigan. She was terrible. And so he goes, why don't you try him? He's Filipino and he's in the Philippines. And I'm like, I can do that because I lived in Hawaii for 5 years and I know Filipino culture very well. Yeah. And I said, yeah, I can totally do that. And so his name was Leslie, and I trained him how to put all our listings into the MLS and then also put them online on different this is way before there was Zillow and stuff. And so we were like, he was putting them on different things. I think MySpace was still the thing back then, but Twitter, obviously it just started, but we didn't do, I was a beta tester for Twitter, by the way.
Oh,
So
very
that
cool.
was back in 2008. Yeah, with a BlackBerry phone. So we would sit there and text put your letters in on a BlackBerry phone to do your tweets. It was really fun. It was very different. And so anyway, so he started getting so busy that he said, look, Katerina, I can't do it all. I'm going to find you some other people. I know some people, they can do this for you. And I said, no, I don't have time for that. So what I'm going to do is, you already know how to do it. You go. And so I taught him how to have his own company. So I said, you go, you hire the people, you train them, you control them, I pay you, you pay them, that kind of thing. So we built up, and he had like probably about 5 or 6 people working for us. And then through all of that, all the real estate agents around the country and the associations wanted me to come and speak, teach them how to do blogging, how to do SEO. So I created courses. And so this whole thing started coaching. The whole thing starts going on. I started speaking. And then they all needed people. So I started telling him, I said, okay, look, I'll make you a deal. You give me 50 cents an hour off of everybody that I send to you. And then pretty much my stuff is free, basically. And this is back in the day when it was a lot cheaper. For VAs in the Philippines are much smarter today. If they know anything about their worth, they're not going to work for cheap labor anymore. There's just no reason for them to. So inflation hits every country. It doesn't matter. Then we fast forward to 2016, and he called me one day and said that he was going to close the company because he was suffering from depression really bad. And I didn't know what to do, because I'm just imagining all this work going away. I'm just like, how am I going to do my work? How am I going to, because I was producing courses, I was doing Facebook ad, all this stuff, and then I would train them and they would do it all for me. And I could not scale without them. It just wasn't going to happen. Plus, I'm a family person. So I had 5 kids before I was 30, and then I was divorced after 20 years, and I got married again and had a baby when I was 44.
Are you LDS?
So that baby just turned 21. Yes, I'm LDS.
Yeah, okay. 5 kids before 30, living in Provo. Yeah,
but I'm a convert.
That's okay. My dad.
I'm a convert. I converted when I was 19.
My dad's a convert. So.
And I got married when I was 19.
Hey, that's.
Yeah, I had my first baby when I was 19.
Yeah, big year.
Yeah.
Big. Yeah, I've never lived in Utah, and I'm
year.
not from Provo, but yeah, I'm LDS. My dad was a convert, so. Anyways.
Okay. Yeah, I figured you were. Yeah. So anyway, it was really tough. And so then you'll understand the story. So that night he texted me like at 2:00 in the morning, because of time difference, telling me that he's going to shut down like now. And I'm like, wait a minute, give me like just a few hours to think about this. And I'm like, please don't stop. And he's, nope, you can't talk me out of it. So I just started praying, and I was praying and praying. And of course, this was never on my bucket list. At the time, I was making really good money doing launches. And so I'm just like, I don't know what to do, Heavenly Father, and everything. And Heavenly Father just said, you need to take over the company. And I'm just like, I don't want to do that. And then I said and so of course I know more than he does. We all do. So I'm like, wait a minute, that's not in my plans. And then he just kept saying, I just kept getting that really strong impression, you have to take over the company. And I said, okay, I'm going to make you a deal. First, my son, who plays baseball like every single day, 24/7, and I homeschool him. And I homeschooled all my kids, but my 21-year-old, I was homeschooling him his whole life. And he was like 14 years after the others. It's like having a new family. And so I said, it can't interfere with homeschool. It can't interfere with real estate.
Right.
Because I was still helping my husband in real estate and doing all the marketing, running the show kind of thing. And I said, and I don't want to commingle money. So if I take over this company, I have to be profitable in the first month. And he was losing money. He was really losing a lot of money.
Oh, goodness.
He had hired this guy from corporate. And this guy from corporate was actually from my Outdesk, which is one of my competitors. And that guy, they have a much bigger operation than Leslie had. And the guy was telling me he had to run it like that big company did. So he started making all these hires that he couldn't afford. There was just no money. There wasn't enough overhead to pay these people in all these different positions that he was hiring them for. And so that, I think, was part of the depression, was because he was just losing money and he was borrowing money and this and that. And so I knew that when I took it over, it was basically not worth anything. And so I did. And within the first month, I made $40 in profit. So I'm like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
I can do this. And it just was such a lifestyle change for as far as freedom goes and everything, because I can work from anywhere. Like, for instance, I lived in Florida for 27 years. And when my husband died, and he died in Florida, and as soon as he died, I said, I'm moving back to Utah. I'm moving to Utah. So I've lived here twice before. I have a daughter that was born here. And I want to go to Provo. I want to be in walking distance to the temple, blah, blah, all that stuff. Because I was driving all the way to Oakland and to Fort Lauderdale to go to the temple, or to Orlando. And I was just like, I don't want that anymore. So I wanted to have neighbors that were LDS. I live in the best neighborhood in the world, by the way. It's just so amazing here. And my neighbor across the street is 92 years old.
That's
She's
awesome.
just so amazing. Walks 3 times a day. I walk with her. She's crazy. I can hardly keep up with her. But it's amazing. And so I was able to buy my house here because I had the virtual company. Had I only had the real estate business, I would never have gotten a loan for a house
Oh,
here,
interesting.
because you have to have that 2 years of tax returns and everything. God works in mysterious ways, and everything happens for a reason. And I just knew I needed, that had to happen for me. Also, when my husband died, he left us with nothing. So it was really bad. And we weren't in a good relationship anymore by that time.
Sorry.
And he wasn't LDS. My first husband was, but the second husband wasn't. And it was really tough on us financially, because I have 9 kids altogether, because I have 3 of his. So I'm a stepmom to 3. So I have 9 children altogether. I had to get their air tickets all there for the funeral, like all this stuff, right? And he had no insurance. He had nothing. And then he started going like, the doctor thinks that at the end his brain started going, because he was having so many mini heart attacks that he was going into like almost dementia, and he wasn't even 65 years old. And so he would do things like change the locks on the safe so I couldn't get into it after he died. He took my name off of everything. It was really bad. So this whole thing, Heavenly Father knew that this was going to happen. And that's why I had the VA company, because I had control of the money,
Yeah.
of my money.
Yeah.
So he kept, taking all the real estate money and going and spending it on whatever he wanted. It was like crazy stuff. And so it was like this whole thing of, that's what I need to do. But my biggest issue is I'm the ideas person. I'm not the implementer. So I always have to hire the implementers, because I don't like to implement. I hate paperwork. I love to come up with the idea, come up with the logo, come up
Sure.
with, we're going to do this and we're going to do this, but I'm not the one to
So-
do it. And I learned that many years ago.
So you have your VA company.
So
How large is that
yeah,
company?
we broke 350,000 in gross. I was stuck at 250 for years, and I realized, and then I read the book The Big Leap,
Okay.
and realized I need to work in my zone of genius more. I need to let go
Yeah.
of management stuff. So I hired one of my girls that was my manager. I turned her into a COO. She's amazing. Super amazing. I pay her American wages basically for what she does, because I'm not going to lose her. So many headhunters try to go get her from me. So ever since I had her, it's harder financially, because the net is less, of course, but the gross is going up, but I want to break 1 million. And so it's tough to scale, only because I don't have the financial resources to throw at it to scale it. I did get my EIDL money and all that to keep afloat, but
Question for you.
yeah, we had a tough time. In 2020 was a really bad year for us. We had a really bad
Sorry.
negative in 2020, but
Nice.
after that,
bad
we
year.
started picking up
Bad
again.
year for a lot of people.
Yeah. We worked with a security guard company, huge one in Texas. They went bankrupt during 2020, so we lost all their business.
So
We had a printing company that we did. So
here's my question for you. Obviously, you followed me on Twitter. Were you hopping on here to just, hey, let's have a conversation? Or was there
Yeah.
any, I have a specific question about X, Y, and Z. I'm not saying I'm not enjoying the conversation. I'm just curious if you had any specific question on.
what are your suggestions? Okay, so what are your suggestions for scaling a company like that?
Okay, I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions. Is that okay? Okay. How many employees do you have besides yourself that are stateside?
None.
None. Okay. Who manages your VAs?
My COO in the
You
Philippines.
see. Okay. And how many VAs do you currently
Yeah,
have?
she's Filipino.
Okay.
28.
And you said 300,000 that's a yearly number. That's not a monthly number.
350. No, that's a year. 350.
Okay.
We just broke 350, I think, last year.
How are you currently acquiring customers?
Okay, so right now we do mostly networking. Most of it's 80% is word of mouth,
Okay.
referrals. We do a lot of, because of my real estate experience, we do a lot of realtors, but they're so flaky. They go, they quit really easy. The attrition rate's really high for realtors. Most of them don't know how to run a business. Okay. So it's just the way it is. And so we do chiropractors. We're starting a whole thing with Google My Business and chiropractors right now, because I've been working for chiropractors. We're going to do this power washing thing. I don't know if it was you or Chris I think it was Chris that was talking about that on Twitter. We're going to do that power washing thing exactly the way he said it. Perfect. So we are going to implement that. I'm going to be, I'm risk averse. So I'm 65. So I don't think like a 30-year-old anymore, right? I'm not going to put everything on the line anymore at 65, right? So I'm a lot more careful. We do Facebook. I do a ton of Facebook marketing.
You do? Okay. How do you do that?
So
is it just
I do. I don't do paid ads. No, I do it. We do it all, the Facebook marketing. I have a full-time secretary. I don't check my emails. She does everything for me, one of my VAs, and she does all my Facebook posts for me. I spend an hour every Sunday night giving her all my personal ones that I want posted. Okay. I use my personal Facebook page for my business, but of course, we have a business page as well. And we have a group.
Do you have any idea how many leads a month do you generate, and what percentage of those leads convert into customers?
Yeah. So if I talk to 10 people myself, I will sign up 8 of them. If Daisy talks to 10 people, she'll sign up 7 of them. Okay. 6 or 7 of them.
That's still a good number.
So I'm trying to make her do more of that, put that off, because I can't always talk to people. Like, for instance, I was in surgery, so I couldn't talk to anybody. So Daisy will take over there.
How many leads do you generate a month?
So my theory, probably about 10.
10. Okay, so
I would say maybe 10. Yeah.
Is your churn pretty high? If you're generating 10 leads a month and they're converting to 7.
Yeah, the churn rate's high.
Okay.
Yeah, it's high. So every time, and there's different periods of time. Every December, we lose a lot of clients because they're looking at their books, blah, blah, blah. So every December, we have a high attrition. So when we lose, and for instance, last month, 4 people quit, but we only gained 2 new ones. So now that's not good, because now I'm 2 behind. Yeah. So I'm not even made up for, I didn't even catch up. In other words, it's like two steps forward, 1 step backward kind of thing. And I know that's my biggest problem, because I have this thing about, especially having come from so many years, over 40 years in doing sales and real estate, I'd rather talk to 10 people and sign up 8 than talk to 100 and sign up 2. 100 cold leads and sign up 2. I'd rather talk to 10 warm leads and sign up 2. Do you see what I'm saying? Sign up 8. So it's hard for me to think of scaling that, because it's going to go into cold traffic. Look, do you know what I'm saying?
I do. So I'm trying to get.
But I'm
trying to get to some math here really quick. So just how many customers do you currently have? Just ballpark.
I don't know.
Okay.
I would say, I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, Daisy keeps all that. I should have brought that with me. I'm really sorry.
Is it 10 or is it 50?
I would say, we probably have 50 to 100, somewhere 50 to 70 maybe.
All right, let's say 50, because that's an easy.
A lot of, we sell. Yeah, we have to do a lot of volume, because because our platform has always been by the hour, and they have to buy at least 10 hours a week of a block of time. One of the things that we're transferring into is doing packages, because there's a heck of a lot more profit in packages than there is an hourly, because an hourly customer is always looking at you, what'd you do for this hour? Whereas if we say we're going to do your Google Maps for you for $800 a month, they're not going to ask any questions. They just want to see the results, right? Yeah. So that's one of the things we've moved to a package. We're working on getting the social media stuff into a package, so that's not done by the hour anymore. And then but any of our cold callers and stuff like that, they all have to be by the hour, because it's really hard to do those packages. Are you the one that does medical stuff? I think I saw one of your posts. So one of the things we were thinking about doing is going after some of the medical transcription stuff we can do for people or whatever. We looked at Ruby to see for the pressure washer thing that Chris was talking about. And we're thinking we could do virtual secretaries really easily, virtual receptionists. And that's really low. See, I like those kind of things because it's low my involvement. ISAs, which are inside sales calls, all that, I don't get it. I don't, Daisy's the one that knows all about that. I don't know anything about that business. And so it's really good for me, because then I stay out of it. And they can't pull me in with their problems. Yep. So they have to work out the problems. If it's SEO, if it's social media, I'm always the one that everybody comes to. What do we do about this? Or even the clients. Oh, Katarina, what do you think? It's always coming to me. Yeah. And I'm trying to get away from that. But the other thing I want to do is move not so much out of realtors, but I need to get in front of bigger companies. That's our big thing. We need to get bigger accounts. 10 hours a week is crap. 10 hours a week at $15 an hour, that's no money. There's no, what do you call that? Margins get so thin that way, right?
Yeah.
But if we can do volume, so
Can I make some?
that's the other thing.
Can I make some recommendations?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
The first thing I would look at is understanding what your lifetime value of a customer is. I'm just backing into a number, and I'm going to say you have 50 customers, 50 clients. You're making $350,000 a month. That's $6,000 per month per customer. At the same time, if you get
No, that's per year.
per year, I'm sorry. So
Per year.
$6,000.
Yeah, per year. Yeah, you're right. I know my lifetime value, but I haven't looked at it. But you're right.
So
That's right. Remember where it is.
So $500 a month per customer is essentially what your number is.
Yeah.
The second piece of that is if you're churning your customers like this, if you're adding 7 or 8 new customers a month, then effectively you're churning 15% of your customer base every single month, which is a really high churn on a monthly basis. So I would look and see, why are you churning people? Either your product is not good, or the price point that you're offering at is wrong. So either you're too far down market, or you're too far up market. So the second piece that I would say is I would start following a lot of people on Twitter. There's a ton of VA companies out there, and just understand how the business model works, what they're charging. $500 a month per customer, in my estimation, is very low. From what I've seen with a lot of these VA companies, they're making anywhere between $1,500 and $2,000 a month per customer, potentially even more. And they're using the same talent that you are. So if your revenue per customer is 500 and theirs is 1,500, there's a gap there. Something is obviously missing.
Yeah.
And then,
So part of that problem is because we have that 10-hour minimum order amount per week. That's what makes it that 500, because we have a ton of people who are just like startup businesses. They just want to try it out. They've never outsourced before. So they only want to do 10 hours a week. And that's, I think, I know that's part of the problem, but was also part of our value proposition to compete against those other companies, was to say, hey, they want you to be full time. Look, you can come to us and you don't have to be full time.
yeah, I would say if you're getting 7 to 8 new customers a month, you don't have a marketing problem, you have a retention problem. So there's something going on. Either you're not onboarding them well enough, so they're not understanding exactly how to use these VAs, or the service you're providing is not good enough. Like, something is happening that's causing you to lose these customers. So anyways, it's just a weird place for you to have to operate from. And then the second thing I would say is that, have you seen John Matzner's model? No. John's done a really good job of building a network. So he's not just based in the Philippines, but he's got talent all over the world. It could be that your talent pool's not great. And I don't know that. I'm not speaking from any experience, but I would try to assess, maybe even talk to some of those customers who have left, and just say, why'd you leave? What happened?
Oh, we know exactly why they leave.
Why they leave?
It's always because of money. It's always because they're a freaking startup company. The last 3 customers left because they started a supplement product, for e-commerce, that we were helping them with Amazon stuff. And then they ran out of money because because someone told them to spend all their money on the product and on Amazon ads, right? And so this one guy, he makes this great oatmeal, and he can't make any more oatmeal now because he's so upside down and he loves it. Every one of them, almost everyone, like I will tell you 99% will always say they're so sorry, that they're going to come back as soon as they have some money. But it's always something like that. And then, and like I said, realtors, always, as soon as they don't have sales, for 2 months in a row, 3 months in a row, they always tell me, oh, I can't do it anymore. I can't afford it. I'm going to have to do all this myself now.
So, I mean, you've just picked.
I think it's who we're attracting.
Exactly.
I think it's
really hard customers.
It's who we are attracting.
You think it's in the data.
Yeah, I don't think there's a problem. Yeah, I don't think it's a problem, because the last girl that just quit was with us for 6 years, and she's pregnant now with her 3rd child. She's going to quit real estate. Her husband's a pilot. She doesn't need to do real estate, so she's going to quit. So why does she need to keep us? So we get a lot of that kind of stuff. That's why I'd rather go for companies. That's why whenever we work for companies, we have a pool company that's been with us since I started, since 2016, loves us. Chiropractor loves us. Like, people that actually run a business and know how to run a business, they love us and they love what we're doing.
I think you just said your answer.
So
Then. You need to just pick a demographic and focus on them. So if it's pool cleaning companies,
okay,
then niche down on pool cleaning companies and just go hard. Get the list of pool cleaning companies around the country and call them, text them, have your team in the Philippines pull a list. Like the more niche you can be, the better it's going to be for your business. And then you can branch out. But if you're just trying to be everything to everybody, you're going to continue to have a problem churning through these customers. That's my sense, in my opinion.
Okay.
But,
Okay. You're probably right.
Yeah.
I would say, 99% you're right.
Yeah. This was awesome. This was a test for me today. And we went an hour. So this was great. And it was nice to meet you, Katerina.
Awesome.
So we'll see.
It was nice to meet you too.
We'll see if I do this again. And
All right,
I'll be excited to hear any update on how business is going.
Awesome. Thanks.
All right. Bye.
All right. Take care. Bye.